a big GT. The next few days, I'm stranded on these remote islands for the ultimate survival challenge.
Oh, he's too quick. We've got to try and cut him off.
Yeah.
Whoa, look at the size
We're
of
following in the wake of one of the wildest shipwreck stories I have ever heard. Quite tragically, the majority of them died out here, but a few managed to survive. I want to see how and see if there's any clues to the whereabouts of their missing treasure.
3, 2, 1, lift off.
So this is the exact location where 400 years ago, the first European ship was wrecked in Australian waters, just offshore here. That incident tragically killed almost 100 people, but a few managed to survive. I'm gonna share their pretty remarkable story and have my own survival challenge. Let's get straight into it. I'm gonna share that story with you throughout the day, but let's get moving before it heats up too much. There's some interesting things washed in on the tide line here. I think there's been a more recent shipwreck actually. This is someone's flipper, and next to it is a very interesting track. It looks a lot like a crocodile track, but they're not meant to be here, so I'm assuming this is a goanna track, but we'll keep our eyes peeled for whatever's making that. Yeah, it's all through here. Tracks all through here. If they are goannas, they could provide a source of food for any shipwreck survivor here. I'm going to acquire what I can. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's been a boating accident and someone else has sunk offshore and there's some things washed in, but I'm going to acquire what I can and see what else I can find around here. This could come in handy at some point for sure. So could this actually. That might still have fresh water in it. So over the next 24 hours, we're gonna have pretty similar objectives to what the guys did over 400 years ago. We're gonna need to find food, gonna need to find water, and a bit of shelter to get out of this heat. And this looks like it could be a little bit of fresh drinking water. In the age of plastic, you walk along any beach in these remote areas, chances are you're gonna find some drinking water. So in here, guys, I've got some basic camera gear. And as far as survival gear goes, first of all, I need to get a shirt on. Don't want to survive this shipwreck only to die in a matter of months from skin cancer, do I? So, sun safety. We've got a floating hand line. I know the guys from this shipwreck made it ashore with a hand line, which they tried to catch some fish with. And a flint. Let's get into it. I reckon they must be a goanna that's coming down to feed on the beach. And most likely what he'd be looking for is in these depressions in the sand. These are all old turtle nests. So I reckon the goanna would be coming down looking for fresh ones, trying to eat those turtle eggs. These are all old turtle eggs that have hatched. So back in the day in 1622, they would have been fair game, especially for a couple of shipwreck survivors. But now the turtles and their eggs are off limits, rightfully so. We love the turtles, so we can't be using them as a food source. Now, first impressions, it's a pretty dry and desolate old island. And my tactic to start with is I'm just gonna take a bit of a walk along the tide line to see if anything else is washed in from this other wreck. And I'm sure they would have done something similar to see what of their supplies washed in. I know a barrel of water washed in, which was able to keep them alive for a few days, but I'll share that story as we go. Safe to blast. I wonder what is being blown up. Sufficient lure. This could come in handy now. Looks like it's been out here for a while, but I think there's still a set of hooks on it. Yeah, we'll put this in our pocket and see if we can use this later on. Looks like there's a bit of a cave or something up underneath here. Now that's going to get flooded at high tide. There's a little cave here, which almost looks like the den of a wallaby or something like that. Let's go have a look. home anyway at the moment. How's this beautiful little cove out of the wind? This place is magic. I've just spotted a big fish in the shallows here. As the waves are churning up the sand, there must be crabs and that type of thing getting dislodged, and he must be feeding on them. I'm gonna stalk down and try get him with a hand spear. If we can get a big fish like this early, oh man, we're laughing. I'd love to get a vantage point. I'm gonna try to scale up to the top of these rocks and walk along this headland here. Oh, turtle bones. Wonder if an osprey has caught one. Oh man, this is a dodgy old cliff. Put that one back in place. Be very, very careful, Jack. Oh wow, this is just spectacular. What an incredible view, hey, beautiful, but it's also going to give me a good perspective to look down and see where the fish are hanging out, see what our options are for food. There's a crab that looks like it's been picked up by a seagull or something and brought up here. These guys are all too dried out for us. I have also seen some droppings that look like a small mammal, like a wallaby, and they would be in the middle of the day shading up in some of these caves here, so I'm going to keep an eye out for them as well. There is a big fish down here, guys. See this dark shadow here? Man, I can see him so clearly from up here. I'm going to keep an eye on him. If he comes closer to the shore, that's going to be my opportunity. This big guy would feed me for a couple of days if I could get him. Look, he's coming up. I've got to be very patient. I'll probably only get one shot from up here. Check this out. This is pure sea salt. As good a quality sea salt as I imagine you can get anywhere in the world, but it's not going to help with my hydration levels at the moment. If we do manage to get a good fish, you could just salt bay that right up. First, let's catch this fish. Now, that actually worked quite well. I just threw a dried up crab in there as bait. And you see all those fish come up underneath it. The wind makes it a little bit hard to see them, so I'm going to try that tactic later right in the shallows, and I might have been able to spear one of them. There's definitely a few fish along here. Let's keep moving. There's a turtle just there getting washed. Hey mate! Getting washed around by the waves. Oh, there's a heap of bait fish down here. Might be a bit glary for you guys, but that entire shadow is all hardy heads, all little bait fish. Chances are there'll be some bigger fish under those ledges coming out to try get them soon. There goes our big fish. It's cruised on by laughing at us. This is a little bit hard here while the tide's high and the wind's strong. So I'm gonna go for a bit of a walk and see what our other options are to find some substantial food. Wow, look at the size of this guy. Now that is a bigger crab. A bit more substantial, that one. There's a meal on that if we can get a couple of them. But we'll keep looking. Wow, once again, this is all bait fish here. These are all hardy heads. Oh, there's a couple of big fish offshore there. Seems all the big fish I saw cruising along here are just so wary. As soon as I've come across, I haven't seen them again, so we might be wasting our time for these big ones. Let's keep moving. Oh, huge GT, huge GT. It's just where I was. Where is he? I've got to try and cut him off. This is our fish, man. This is our fish. I was too slow. That was a big giant trevally. That would have been amazing, but I just couldn't quite get in front of him and he kept going. Ah, bummer. Oh, we'll keep our eyes peeled. You never know what's going to swim past here. This big fish is just toying with me. He's playing with me as he's cruising up and down this coast. I just can't quite get a shot at him. Man, this is a beautiful bay. Wow. So, story time. The year is 1622, about 400 years ago. A young captain by the name of John Brooke, we'll call him Captain Brooke. He's sailing a VOC ship with a very important cargo. It's got coins, it's got gold, it's got one hell of a treasure on board. More on that later. He's sailing up the coast of an unknown land, but his navigation lets him down and he runs into some rocks, completely shipwrecking the vessel. Realizing he's stuffed up, in the middle of the night, him and a few of his favorite crew, including his son, 9 of them in total, jump on board the skiff, which is basically like the life raft, and they set sail. He abandons the rest of his crew, 130 odd men on board, surely leaving them for their deaths. Realizing he has made a massive stuff up and has lost a super valuable cargo, Captain Brooke needs to get to civilization to tell his story of the events. On his 6-week sail it takes for him to get up to Batavia, he falsifies all the records, changes the daily log, and he changes his position to put him where he's supposed to be. He says he's hit some uncharted rocks, did everything he could to save his crew, basically excused himself from any blame. But what he didn't realize at that time, the first mate, Thomas Bright, that's the second name we need to remember here, Thomas Bright. He managed to get on board the longboat with about 36 other crew, and they didn't die there, they survived. They managed to get from the site of the shipwreck, made it here onto these islands, where for the next week their mission was to try and find any food and water, and not forgetting that they still had about 90 odd men at the site of the shipwreck out there with the crashing waves around them. I've been out there. It's not a place you want to be shipwrecked. There's big swell, big waves, and surely, like, as every minute went on, their chance of survival became less and less. So Thomas Bright's role here, he needed to find food, needed to find water, hopefully enough so he could sail that longboat back out and then save the rest of the crew. All right, let's move camp. We're heading overland. See if we can find some food or water. Look at this. This is a long way from home. That is a very old fishing lure. See if he still works. This grasshopper's been caught in a spider's web. Oh, he just escaped. Spiders. He's got a hell of a tripwire. He just caught. Oh, he's too quick. Where'd he go? Oh, look at him going. He's far too quick for me. Oh, he was just sleeping in the shade of one of these spinifex bushes. And as I spooked him, he took off. But the reason he interests me is because he's not meant to be here. This species of wallaby are actually meant to be extinct in this area. But I knew I'd seen some droppings on the beach before. Wanted to get a bit of a closer look, but man, he was quick.
315,000 homes and businesses across southeast Queensland are this morning still without power.
Here is a glimpse into one of the challenges I've faced in trying to get this episode edited. So at the moment, guys, out behind you, there's a cyclone that has just come through and it's really devastated the local area. It's left about 300,000 people without power, including here. So this is a mate's place where I'm just editing from. I just want to show you guys quickly how I've managed to power up in this pretty hectic time. Thank someone for making this possible, and I also reckon a lot of you guys watching could benefit from this. So this is the Bluetti Elite 200 V2 power station. Now the lithium iron phosphate power stations, some pretty groundbreaking tech that's come along in the last few years, and this is the latest and greatest from Bluetti. More compact, more power, it's got 2,000 watt hours in this small device, pretty amazing. What I'm using it for here is I've got my laptop plugged in behind me, I've got the monitor plugged in so I can keep editing, I've got a fan in the background, I've got the Wi-Fi modem plugged in, and basically this Bluetti device is allowing me to edit this episode and for life to continue on even though the whole suburb is in total blackout at the moment. It's super simple to use and understand. At this rate, I've got 14.7 hours left of power. When it comes time to recharge, you can just plug in a solar panel, just one plug, super simple. Or when the power's back on, you can charge it from your wall plug, or you can even charge it from your car. Perfect for these home backup situations, but of course it's also perfect for camping or any off-grid type living. This model is boasting a 5-year warranty, which gives you a whole heap of confidence. They reckon it lasts 17 years of regular use. That'll probably outlive me, to be honest. I've been super impressed with this. If you would like to learn more about this or even purchase your own one, you can scan the QR code on screen right now, or you can click the link in our description and that will take you where you need to go. So big thanks to Bluetti for allowing me to edit this episode for you lovely people on YouTube. Now, back to the episode. It's pretty dry and sort of barren all through here. There's no signs of water yet, but we'll keep looking. I'm keen to get on top of this sort of ridge line and check out what's on the other side. Sort of changed vegetation now. There's more of these shrubby type trees, but still no water. What have we got here? I don't know if you can eat these. I'm not sure what this is. Looks like we've arrived. It's a mangrove bay over there, mangrove lined bay. Let's go see if we can find some food down there. Tell you what, this grass here is a bloody nightmare. Every one of these is like a needle on the end. Spinifex grass. Actually, everything out here is pretty horrible. Look how spiky this bush is. And then these ones here, which once they dry, they form the most painful bindies. Everything out here is adapted to be a pain in your backside. Oh, there's a little crab. Sorry, mate. It's like a crab's little castle in here. I'll put it all back together for him. Alright, we've got a nice low tide now here, and you can see all this water is drained out of this mangrove system. So we're gonna have a bit of a walk and see if there's any seafood that's willing to be collected. Things like, oh, mud crab would be top of the priority list here, but any other shells. Unfortunately, in this area, guys, I can't take the oysters, which are kind of just a very obvious food source here. They're actually everywhere, but they're a no-take around these islands. But I'll see what else I can get my hands on. And now the game of hide and seek with a mud crab begins. It's just a matter of how long I can withstand the sandfly bite. and whether I can find one in that time. All right, it's nice and muddy up here, which is looking more and more likely. Oh, I'm just getting tangled here. Oh man, these sandflies are bad. No signs of a mud crab yet, but I'm gonna take a few of these. Plenty to go around. Oh man, these sandflies far out. Wow. What a bloody horrible place. I'm gonna give it sort of 10 minutes of power in there, right in the deep thick of the mud. See if we can pick up a mud crab. If not, change of plans. Oh, that feels better. Was a pretty unsuccessful mission. A massive waste of time and energy, I think. Bugger the mud crabs. Let's go find something else. There's an old bottle. Look at this big guy. Oh yeah. See this? You beauty, this is a big razor clam. Inside of this is a scallop of meat which we're going to be eating. Nice. I've never eaten one this big. I'm keen to test it and see how it goes. A few smaller crabs in here. Oh yeah, here's another nice one. I wonder what lives in this dark hole here. Let's find out. Oh. Hey mate, you live in that hole. I wondered what was in there. Aren't you cool? Look at this beautiful little fish. There's not much meat on there for me, so I'm actually going to put him back. Plop. That was awesome. See you mate, you can have the scraps as well. Oh yes, look at this beauty. He's sitting loud and proud, this one, isn't he? Ready, hiya! Oh man, they lock on. You've got to be quicker than I was. Oh, what a beauty. He's coming home for dinner. Oh, there's another one. Pretty impressive little holes they've got. I'd love to see them making that. There's some big rocks around the outside for a little fish. As this tide is coming in behind me here, I've noticed some stingrays and sharks and other things coming in as well. This could be my best chance to catch some substantial food. Let's go in with a hand spear and see what we can get. Concern is for every stingray I see, chances are there's one just hiding just underneath the sand. So I've got to be very careful where I step. Probably one of the most dangerous animals I can go for here, but it's also the most substantial meal. One of these stingrays, as soon as I spear it, it's going to try and spear me back with its barb, so I've got to be careful. Oh yeah, got him. Absolutely nailed him. All right, come on mate. Good shot. I bet you can. Woo! Got out of that pretty lucky. That was a very good shot. Now, no doubt stingray would have been absolutely on the menu for Thomas Bright and his crew, and it was a really important food source for the Aboriginal people that lived and roamed all over Australia. I was super lucky actually to pretty much get a kill shot on this guy today, because as soon as you put a spear in them, they will try and spear you with, at the halfway down the back of their tail, there's their infamous barb. I'm actually going to try and use this barb a little bit later on if we get the chance. So this is how the Aboriginal people used it. There we are, guys, there's the stingray barb, and as it dries out it's got more of a serrated edge there, which will come in handy hopefully later on if we get the chance. Dinner is looking better already. Let's head back to base camp and have a bit of a cook up. Let's go back overland and see where the next spot arrives out at. What I've just found. Now, there's good news and there's bad news here. The bad news is one of these cute little mammals has died underneath here. The good news is these guys are meant to be extinct on these islands, so even him just being here is pretty cool. They're too quick through the spinifex. I just spooked one of those little wallabies from underneath this fig tree and he took off, but that's right, there's a fig tree. There's a tree on this desolate island that has got little fig fruits on it. This is the first fruit-bearing tree I've found. Out in the Spinifex plains, it's just one tree and it's fruiting as well. This is where that wallaby was sat underneath this tree for a bit of shade. And this is their droppings. He likes this spot. Look at this. The ants like them. But unfortunately they're not ripe yet, these ones. There's no river or fresh water source as far as the eye can see. So we're just gonna choose a horizon and head that way, see what's over that hill. Now, as for shelter, I reckon the best option I've seen so far is probably to take a lesson from those wallabies we've seen and just find a bit of shelter up under one of the trees here. Yeah, somewhere like this. The wallabies reckon this is a pretty good spot here. This will offer like a little bit of a windbreak. It always feels a little bit cozy just to have sort of something, a little bit of a shelter surrounding you. And I reckon that's what Thomas Bright and his crew would have had to have done for the week they're out here. Find somewhere like this and kick a little wallaby out of the way, steal his little den for the night, and try to get some sleep. Oh man, the flies are crazy. There's a full moon rising behind us. That's got to be a good omen. I'm going to get a bit of a fire going on the beach here, and this is where we'll have a cook up. We've got a bit of a mangrove mixed bag today. All right, there's not too much firewood around, so I'm going to build a fireplace that is super efficient in holding its heat. It's a great technique to use if there's not much firewood around. First step, you're gonna dig one big hole here, and then dig a smaller hole upwind. And then you're gonna dig a hole that joins them to allow air to come from your smaller hole and fuel your larger fireplace hole. I think that made sense. There was a lot of holes there, but I'm sure you guys get the picture. I wanna put a flint to this dried wallaby poo that'll light up the rest of this stuff. We'll get her in there. Now the main course for dinner today is white spotted mangrove ray. Now I know this is a bit of a different seafood to what you might normally see us get here, but guys, this is a super sustainable catch. You would have seen just how many there were around the shallows here. Oh, we're gonna run out of light pretty soon, guys, but I'm just gonna take this guy's guts out and then I'm gonna share the rest of that story with you. A bit of a rushed job tonight, but let's get him on there. Straight on those hot coals. Alright, I'm going to stoke this fire up with the last of the firewood to try and get some of those sandflies off me. And then it's dinner time, so that stingray is going to be the main course. Looks like it's cooked pretty well actually. That outside skin should just peel back. And then the meat looks really interesting, looks quite stringy, but it actually tastes really good. You just sort of peel it away like that. And yeah, it's actually quite nice. And then these razor clamps, once they pop open, you can clean away the guts and the rest of them, and you're left with that beautiful circular white scallop of meat. Really tasty, and it's yeah, a bit of a delicacy actually. Really underrated, I reckon, these razor clamps. All right guys, I'll see you bright and early in the morning. We've got a massive day tomorrow. Just wait till you hear what happens with this treasure from this wreck. Absolutely crazy. Now, I've spotted something over this other side of the bay, which is quite promising. So there's some, looks like there's some mangroves there and a little inlet. Now, the mangroves, oh, stingray here, almost actually stood on this bloke. Got to keep an eye out. But the mangroves actually require a bit of fresh water. So having mangrove system there is a really good hint that there might be some fresh water in this area. Let's see what we can find. Now this is quite amazing here. The most important, most valuable resource. We might have just found it. Walking along the shoreline here, I looked down and there was a fountain of what appeared to be water coming up out of the ground, and upon touching it, it was cold, really cold, and it tastes fresh. So I'm gonna dig away a little bit at it, and what I interpret this as a freshwater spring pushing up through the sand. That tide has got a little bit more to drop yet, so I'm gonna dig this out, and hopefully this fills up with fresh water. Oh yeah, you can definitely see all that sand. You can see all that sand being pushed up. We're gonna need to let this settle for a little bit, but see, that's where that fresh water is coming up, that nice clean stuff. Hopefully that fills this little pothole, drains all this salt and stuff out this way. Yeah, look at it running, isn't it? Look how quickly that's cleaning up. This is quite amazing actually. I'll let this settle for a bit, let that tide drop out. We might just have ourselves a drink of fresh, icy cold water. Not quite icy, but fresh, cool water. Oh no, it appears that that tide has just turned and the salt water is actually now filling it up. But I really want to get a taste of this. Come on, oh, you can see that salt water surging in. That taste, majority fresh water, and then there's just some salt trickling in. So if we want to utilize this spring, we need to do this at a lower tide. That's pretty cool though, that's a good sign. I thought there was no water out here. And I reckon each day they would have set out in their little boat to explore the numerous islands around here. And there's one spot that has caught my eye on the old historic charts of the area. Now, as for the whereabouts of the missing treasure, I need to tell you one hell of a yarn about a bloke named Mr. Alan Robinson. And I reckon this cave might have something to do with it. So, Alan Robinson was a notorious treasure hunter based in Australia. Back in the 1970s, 1980s, with the development of better scuba diving gear, more and more treasure ships were located on the west coast of Australia. Alan Robinson was a very skilled diver, and him and his crew played a vital part in finding a number of these wrecks. Now this is where it gets interesting. Robinson and his crew were out diving one day and they found what looked like a shipwreck covered in coral and seaweed, but around it was artifacts and silver, and what they'd found was a treasure ship. Coming back to notify the authorities, they thought they were destined for riches and fame and fortune, or at least a share of the treasure they just found. They were disappointed to hear from the authorities that in Australia, the treasure does not belong to the finder. Basically said, thanks for finding that, mate, we'll take that off your hands, the museum will come and excavate it, and thanks, mate, be on your way. Now, Mr. Robinson didn't take too kindly to this approach, and later in life he actually wrote a book called In Australia, Treasure is Not for the Finder, and it's his kind of rebellion to this theme which basically maps out the trajectory for the rest of his life. Robinson took it upon himself to head back out there and pillage as much treasure of this wreck that he'd found as he could. For doing so, he ran into a bit of trouble, but that didn't slow him down, because while he was going through the trouble in the background, him and his crew were out trying to find new shipwrecks, and they were doing so. And this story would repeat for a number of years after that. Shipwreck was found, Robinson would come in and pillage what he could, he'd get in a bit of trouble, and the story continues. Now, at the time of the discovery of the trial shipwreck, Robinson was actually part of the crew that was scuba diving that day and made the discovery. They found all the anchors, they found the cannons, and they found the valuable cargo that had been missing for some 350 years, just scattered all over the bottom, coins and treasures of all sorts. At this time, Robinson was faced with some charges from pillaging one of the other shipwrecks, and he still felt entitled to his share of the discovery. So he retaliated by doing this. He took his own boat out to the site of the trial shipwreck, a place where only a few at this point in time had known what was there. He was one of the crew, and he basically pillaged everything he could off the shipwreck. When excavating these type of wrecks, sometimes the treasure would be buried in coral and calcium carbonate growth, and he used explosives to blow up and free up a lot of the treasure. But he not only used enough to kind of free up the treasure, it's like he had the mentality, if I can't have it, no one will, and just blew up the entire wreck site. And these areas where he used the explosives can still be seen today on the dives we've done out there. So with his boat jam-packed full of treasure, he knew the authorities were sort of watching his every move, and he felt that they would be waiting for him back on mainland. He knew he couldn't go back there. He needed to find an area to deposit the treasure. And these islands here, which we've been exploring in this episode, in that time in the mid-1980s, they were well and truly off limits due to nuclear radiation from some testing of some big atom bombs that happened a few years earlier. That's one hell of a story, which I'm going to do a separate episode on. But basically, these islands were off limits. The story goes something like this. He came in the dead of the night and found a spot which only he knew about to deposit all of the treasure, and basically kept that secret with him. And when you're looking around these islands, it's all pretty flat with nowhere really obvious to bury treasure. That's why a cave like this really strikes your interest, doesn't it? I mean, it would be a perfect place to bury some treasure. A period of time later, Robinson is now in jail facing some charges, and he's found hanging from the ceiling dead. And with him passing away, the mystery continues of the whereabouts of the treasures of the trial shipwreck. Pretty crazy yarn, hey? This really would have been a perfect spot for it, because there's a great calm anchorage out there. He would have needed a good anchorage to anchor his boat somewhere and bring all the loads of treasure in. This could have been the spot. But over the years, as the radiation levels decreased out here, more and more visitors started to come out. And I dare say, if there was a motherlode of treasure buried out here, it would unfortunately be long gone. But remember, in Australia here, treasure is not for the finder. So if someone did find it, I would likely never know about it. And also, if I did find it, you would likely never know about it. But it is pretty cool to let your mind and imagination run wild and play pirates for a little bit in here, because you just never know what you'll find. But speaking of finding something, I think our focus needs to shift to food and water. So let's see if we can go catch something to eat. There is a huge school of big GTs. They seem to be feeding on the sand here. This could be my best shot for a big meal.
What a crazy opportunity. I've got to sneak my way down towards the water's edge, and I'm trying to work out what they're actually doing. Oh, they're coming straight towards me. Honestly, this is something I've never seen before. Giant trevallies schooling and behaving like this. I can only assume that they must be feeding on something in the sand. I've got to get a bit closer. They've got the best ability to actually see above water of any fish that I know. So I've got to be super careful and slowly get closer and then patiently wait for the perfect shot.
They gave me a really good shot. I snuck up on them, but I just missed. I just outright missed. Oh, I don't think I'll ever get a shot like that again. Bugger. That sucked. That crayfish? I've been following this thing through the shadows. No bloody way. It's a crayfish. I think he's onto me. Oh man, don't stuff this one up, Joe. He's just out on the open. Oh, it's got a hard shell. It's gone right into the shallows. This is my chance. I've never seen this before. The crayfish just beached himself. No way. Oh, where is he? There's a crayfish under this rock here somewhere. What are my chances of that? But there's also a moray eel. I'm in a little bit of disbelief, to be honest. That was a gift from the gods. I've never seen a crayfish out walking like that, just so willing to be caught. Once he went under that first rock, I thought surely he was mine, but somehow he's disappeared. I'm not sure if he went out the back door and escaped, but that tide is dropping, so I'm just sitting up here and hopefully waiting for him to flush out of one of these rocks. He's out of the water here. Oh, that's where he's been hiding. I've just spotted his tail here now that that tide's dropped. He's pretty much out of the water. It's going to get shallower and shallower, but he's so deep, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get him. Patience is paying. Oh, he's about to move. I think he's about to make a break for it out the front in a second. I'm just going to move around there. So while there's still a little bit of water left, I really want him to try and make an escape out the front here, and then for me to be able to catch him. But if the water drops too much and it goes dry there, I'm not sure I'll be able to get him at all. So I need to try and get him out. Oh, this is gonna hurt, but oh, you spiky bugger. Come on, mate. Oh, how did you get in there? Come on, mate. Please come out this way. Come on, mate. Come on, mate. This is best for everyone if you just come out this way. Come on. Oh, there he is. There he is.
Oh, he's a beauty. Come on, mate. Come on. Oh, this is gonna hurt. Come on, mate. Whoa, look at the size of this cray. Whoa, yes, you beauty. Oh my goodness. How lucky am I? I'm gonna be eating well tonight because that is a beautiful, beautiful crayfish. Yes. Absolute beauty, hey? Painted rock lobster. Sorry, mate, I'm gonna end this pretty soon, but I just want to show the guys at home how beautiful you are. It's a shame for him that he tastes even better than he looks, and he is gonna be my dinner tonight. All right, let's go find somewhere out of the wind for one hell of a cook up this afternoon. Back to base camp and beautiful scenes this afternoon. That wind has dropped right out. We're about to have one hell of a cook up. Just gonna let that fire burn down to a nice coal base, and then we'll get this crayfish straight on there. Ooh, she is looking good. Smells almost done. So all the different survival challenges I've done so far, I've never come up with a crayfish. I've never been so lucky. But what an absolute treat. I'm gonna get this guy off and we'll go eat him up on the rocks, eh? All right, let's take him up. A couple of sort of battle wounds here, but such is the strength of their carapace, he just sort of shrugged it off and kicked off. And this is the concern when you're trying to grab them, is have a go at these spikes here. These are just razor sharp. So if you're going in, you know, hand first, you're just gonna end up with a pretty sore hand by the end of it there. They've got some crazy armory up top. Most of the good meat you're after is in this tail. I'm gonna give this a second to cool down, but we've got a beautiful cray tail. So once Thomas Bright and his crew started to get low on their own water rations, they'd been on these islands for 7 days, and I do hope they were a better shot with their hand spear than I was, but they couldn't find any substantial water either. They then made the decision, of course, to leave these islands and set off for Batavia. That decision saved their lives, but perhaps tarnished their reputation for the rest of their lives. They'd left 93 souls at the site of the wreckage, never to be seen or heard of again. With them, the mystery of the very valuable cargo that was sunk and lost at sea. It was lost for 350 odd years until it was found by the rogue treasure hunter, Alan Robinson. But then perhaps starts an even bigger mystery. Alan Robinson blows up the wreck, takes all the treasure, and apparently buries it on the island here somewhere. I'll certainly be keeping my eyes peeled for the rest of my time here. Let's get into this crayfish. Now guys, if you've enjoyed the story behind this one and this episode, I've got good news for you. There's plenty more like this. There's a whole survival challenges playlist on our channel. Perhaps you'd like to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers guys.